बोलो कृष्ण भगवान की जय, बोलो राजा रामचंद्र की जय, बोलो श्री पवन सुत हनुमान की जय. So thank you those of you who are virtually here and those of you who are physically here. Tonight it's a little bit different than what we are doing. In our village we have death which is predominant and by extension in several other places. So we are not the only family that is grieving or has experienced this loss. Members of Hoover, just today I did a funeral. Members of our mandir, Ravi and his mom, Angela, would have lost the father of the home. Last week, I was there by Sanya, member of the mandir. Her mommy, Listra, lost her mother. So the little girl lost her grandmother. And here we are today. When Ravi called me this morning, it was a little bit difficult to swallow which he had told, because, you know, as I always say, getting a call to do a funeral for someone who I don't know is a little bit different to someone who I do know. So this is a little bit, it brings about a little bit of more concentration and what is required so that we can do our duty. And if I'm the pundit and I feel like this, then I can just imagine how it is that members of this family are feeling at this point in time. So before we go further, the scripture recommends that we always turn our attention to God, regardless of the situation, the circumstance. So we are here to do nothing different, to offer support to this family, where Bhagavan, by his grace, by his glory, can assist in further healing so that Atma can merge with Paramatma. So before we go into Katha tonight, let us listen to verses of mantra dedicated to Bhagavan to settle this mind so that we can go into Katha tonight. Guru Krishna Bhagavan ki. Hare. I didn't hear anybody here, right? So I could try that again. Bolo Krishna Bhagavan ki. Radha. So Hath Jodhkar, those of you who are virtually here and physically here, pray to Bhagavan. As this play of life is all amongst us, we are fixed. And that Bhagavan, that Lord, he is fixed in the heart and in the universe. Connect with him. Oh. Om. Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha. Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha. Om Sri Krishnaya Namaha. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsacharo Namardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Bande Jagadgurum Sarva Upanishado Gao Bhogda Gopalanandana Partho Vatsa Sudhir Bhukta Bhuktam Geetamritam Mahata Om Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Boliye everyone together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hari Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namaha. बोले कृष्ण भगवान की जय, बोले राजा रामचंद्र की जय. So before we go into Katha tonight, let us glorify the name of Bhagavan like we have been doing throughout this time. Connect with him through song, and through this process let the mind be cleansed a little bit further so that we can contemplate and receive his blessings, because our appeal tonight is not on behalf of ourselves. We are praying here tonight because the patriarch of this home and other members would have experienced loss. So our appeal to Bhagavan is sacrifice, because we are praying on behalf of someone else. So at this point in time, glorify Bhagavan. Jai Jai Narayan Narayan Hari Hari Bolo. Jai Jai Narayan Narayan Hari Hari. Swami Narayan Narayan Hari Hari. Bhajman Narayan Narayan Hari Hari. Bolo Sri Ram Jai Jai Ram. Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Sri Ram, 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 Jai Rama, Jai Sita Rama, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama, Ho Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Rama. Hari Om Shantakaram Bhujagashainam Padmanabham Sureshwam Vishwadharam Gadanasadrisham Meghavarnam Shubhangam Lakshmikantam Kamalanehinam Yogi Virdhyanagambhyam Bande Vishwam Bhavaiharanam Sarvalokaikanatham. We venture into the pages of the Quran as the hands are clasped and the eyes are closed. Pray to Bhagavan as we offer ourselves at the feet of the Lord. May the guiding lips of the Lord through the Muni and the holy ones which have been recorded in the Puranas, may we gain that insight on what to do, what to refrain from. So it is the benefit is being offered for the benefit of the departed. Hari Om Sri Garud Uvacha Dasgatram Vidhi Bruhe Krite Kim Sukritim Bhavet Putra Abhave Tuka Kuryad Iti Me Vadkeshava Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Srino Tarksha Pravakshami Dasgatram Vidhim Tav Yad Vidhacha Satputro Muchye Patrikadrinat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bolo Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai. So, there's an authoritative source for almost every action that we should perform in life. If we wish to drive, we need to know the rules and regulations of the road. So therefore, when it is that we have ceremonies going on, there are different ceremonies, and to each one there will be a difference. So as we will see, the funeral ceremony is totally different to the wedding ceremony. One Gulaha say, no Baba, I think that is not true. I say, why? He said, anyhow you take it to who spoke. It's for the laughing here. So we'll talk to him after. That's why he prayed. So anything in life, there's a required amount of understanding, an amount of attention that we have to give to the area that we are in. And unfortunately, 3 families we are speaking to tonight. Tomorrow, after studio, I have to be present in another home in St. Augustine. They are giving same katha. Because of when death happens now, this is a state of being where it is that we can become bewildered because of our attachment to the person who has gone. And this is only natural. So Garud Bhagavan is asking here that, Lord, what procedure should one follow when death happens in the home? So, if it is, I always believe that if it is that we have to further drive, as we were given the example a little while ago, if we have to drive in Trinidad, we can't use the regulations for Canada, you end up in problems. So to an identification of who we are in life will assist us in some of these ceremonies and also understand what sect of Hinduism we fall into. And even when we see others performing beautiful ceremonies which are similar to us, we can appreciate them and understand them and not criticize. But we know and understand what belongs to us. Auntie Tara is a member of the Mandir, and she and her family, by extension, attends and participates in various occasions. So these are some of the members of the village who will have a similar understanding. But when it is death happens now, and we lack that understanding, that can be problematic. Let's careful, we have a different understanding here. So Garud is asking a question on behalf of all, because when we are bewildered, Because when we are bewildered, that attention that we have, it can go. So Bhagavan is listening and Garud says, Das gatram vidhi bruhe krite kim supritim bhavet. Putra abhavetu ka kurya iti me vad Keshava. He's saying, oh Bhagavan, he's referring to Vishnu in the form of Keshav or Keshava. He said, what procedure should one follow from the day of death leading up to the 10 days? The 13 days is also referred to in the latter parts of this Garud Puran in a different chapter. He says, and also, why is it that they have to perform all of these ceremonies, and what benefit now one will gain by doing all of these things? Garud is asking Vishnu Bhagavan. And he says further to that, in this age where it is that not all are fortunate to be blessed with children, what can one do? Because death is so predominant. So if death occurs and one is not blessed with the putra, or the scripture calls children, what should be done? So that ocean of compassion, he answers and he says, Shinotarksha pravakshami das gatram vidhitav ya vidhyacha sat putro muchate patrikad vinat. He says, also tell me about this. And Bhagavan is listening. He is stating now. He says, oh Garud, listen. And I will speak to you about proper procedure. I will speak to you about that which is performed now by the son or others who will be participating in such. They will be released now from what is called the Pitri ring. What is called the Pitri ring? Your oblations, your debt to your ancestors. So Pitri ring, my dear friends, is something that we are all obligated to perform. What is this we are obligated to perform? And how do we do this? With great understanding, with great respect now, we will go into such ceremonies, because of this has been handed down from our forefathers. And this is how we should treat now these rites and these rituals. So Bhagavan tells further that one should renounce the sorrow that one feels, and he should accept the task at hand, and with great patience, he should become sattvic in mindset. It is very hard to accept that. How it is we have really lost a family member we see every day. How can we renounce sorrow? And this is why I always say, and in many forums I speak about it, when the Baba comes and starts to hold this book and starts to talk about what Krishna Bhagavan talking in the Bhagavad Gita, and he's saying soul, 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 you have one goal in mind, knowing what is soul. Because in our entire life, we have only connected with body, body, body. We have clothed, fed, decorated, taken care, all of this, and this is only natural. But when we have only studied that part of the side now and not thinking about the other sides, then we would have depleted our own consciousness in how to be more conscious of that which to perform and that which to refrain from. So, long ago, our ancestors and our forefathers would have told us how to do certain things. But those fellas, they're very strict. Some of my ancestors, well, not ancestors, I say uncles, aunties, and so forth. They wouldn't understand the entire Bhagavad, the entire Bhagavad Gita, the entire Ramayana, but bet your bottom dollar when we have certain ceremonies being performed, it is performed with respect. It is performed with an understanding of what they are doing. And their understanding will be totally different to the type of understanding we have now. And sometimes too much can corrupt. We see this occurring plenty times. So I want all of us to think about something here, because we are all villagers, we are all friends, family to this members of this home who has experienced loss, and by extension, those who are here. If it is you have 100, let's like give this fellow 100 dollars, he might say give him 2. And he has a task to multiply this money. In 3 weeks' time, to make it into something more, he has to invest it, not spend it. So to our ancestors, they have given to us gems, investments, and we have not engaged them in the proper bond yet for it to mature because of this mind, how it can be at times. But only when it is that it has been thrown to an attention or an attentive time, such as funeral, wedding, yagya, then it is that we have a different understanding of the appreciation of some of the same little things that what they would have said. Why am I speaking about this? Because in this very same Garud Puran, it speaks and re-endorses several practices in which our forefathers would have maintained. But in this day and age, sometimes when it is that we have little understanding, instead of trying to understand them, we criticize and we throw some of our necessary practices through the window. But who suffers, my dear friends? Not the dharma itself. That will still take a little longer time to suffer, but you will suffer more immediate as opposed to the dharma. But there's a following and there's a saying always, dharma rakshati rakshataha. Protect your dharma and your dharma will always protect you. So Bhagavan says, go through this without sorrow. O sadhak, renounce sorrow from the mind when you are engaging in these activities. Do not shed the tears. Engage in these actions and hold that form of Bhagavan. Because regardless of what you do, it's something very, very important. It says here, Jatasya hidruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmat apirahaya arte, na shokam karyate buddha. He says, whether you grieve or whether you do not grieve, this will not bring back the departed. Whether it is the grieving process lasts for thousands of years or hundreds of years, death is certain, O Garud. For those who are born, they will also die. Therefore, this process, when we assess life, it is inevitable to have this process of grief. So this is why Bhagavan is telling you, don't grieve, you know. So it is hard at times. Why it is hard? Because we are attached. So 10 houses from here, if someone dies, it may not affect us as how it is affecting us here. But in this immediate setting now, we have to apply the same knowledge that will be used in the several homes to deal with our situation. So Bhagavan continues in this beautiful conversation to uplift the Bhakta's mind. In this time of grief, what does he says? Bolo Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai. Everyone together, let us sing. Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai. Bolo Govinda Jai Jai. Radhar Man Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Bolo Radhar Man Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai. Govinda Jai Jai Gopal Jai Jai. Radhar Man Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Radhar Man Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Radhar Man Hari Govinda Jai Jai. Nahi kischit upayasto asti devo manushya piva yohi mrityu vasham prapto janho purar avartaje. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Hari Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Hari Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Bolo Vishnu Bhagavan ki. Garud is asking about what should be performed and why is it supposed to be performed and what are the merits of performing such. And in delivering this message now, or rather this request to Bhagavan, the Lord is answering this question, because whatever we place before the Lord, he accepts even our questions as well. He will answer them. But he wouldn't answer you like how I'm answering you now, you know. If it is you speak to your Murti and your Murti responds to you in a physical way like me, call me, I won't ask him a few questions too. But if it is you pray just like me and you have requests and you are speaking again and again, the universe is also speaking to you. So we just have to listen in the right way. Bhagavan is giving Garud sound advice. Say, death is certain. Once you are born, you will exit. So therefore, Garud, do not grieve because it is inevitable. And he says further to that now, what is being said here in this verse, Tasmat apiharyate na shokam karye buddha. He says, whether it is now you have inquired about this and if the body that you have here, he says there's no way, whether it is you're a devata, whether it is that you're a human being, all of this, once you have assumed a form, that has to exit. So what is the sense of this grief which you have possessed? or which you are possessing rather. It says here that had there ever been an incident where one was recalled after grief, therefore great kings would not have been dead. Think about it. So all of this, Garud has asked, and the Lord is responding now, so that man has this understanding that nothing is permanent in this world. Not the house, not the trees, not the company, the good company that we will have here. Nothing is permanent in this world. Not even our own body is permanent. This is what we understand. You know, a little exercise Garud Quran says in this chapter in verse 10. He says, Yathahi pati kischit chayam asrite vishramit vishramicha punar gache tadva bhuta samagama. This is a nice one for everyone to do, but not everybody, not all will get through. He says, food which is taken out in the morning, if you try to eat that in the evening now, it may not be good. That will be destroyed by temperature, by humidity, and all of these kinds of things. He says, so that which you will use every day of your life to sustain now this body, O Garud, if that does not last from morning to evening, what makes you think that this body will last throughout life? Think about it. Bhagavan is drawing the attention of Garud in a different way. He says, so therefore I'm emphasizing now, everything is not permanent. Although it is sustained by the same food, O Garud now. He said, this remedy which I'm telling to you, to give up this detachment, it will be rid of all miseries. So this is why we always highlight the point, the focus of satsang. So when we have those who go through death, which is why when Michael called me and asked of me, what should we do this evening? I said, you know, I'll be speaking to the family about certain rites. Why do we do them and how we do them? So why not everyone who is here benefit of this? Not just the sons who will be performing the rites and rituals who will be listening. You see, because typically we have a bad custom locally. We put all who have experienced that in the kitchen to cook, to make sandwich, to bring coffee. And on the day of the funeral, they are in the worst condition. But throughout the nights, if we use the charitra, the amrit, that what your message has recorded in your scriptures, then this text, my dear friends, will help us, will guide us. On the virtual front, where I was Sunday, I believe, if not, please forgive me, we spoke about Madhurashtakam, where it is that we sing Madhuradhipate Akilam Madhuram. Some of us may know this. And this was composed by a saint called Vallabhacharya. Today is his Jayanti. Vallabhacharya Jayanti. So look at what the comparison is. Today is Vallabhacharya Jayanti, and today marks the Anteshti, the beginning of the Anteshti for this family. But in this Madhurashtakam, it is highlighting how sweet the Lord is and all of his actions, which is his playing, his drinking, his eating, his existing, his singing, his dancing, everything is sweet. And when man surrounds himself with the proper company, when man surrounds himself with the proper activities and engages in it with a proper understanding, he taps into that amrit, that nectar, that sweetness. But if it is that he propagates now too much of pakan is unnecessary talk, where it is we hear from 15 different things when the wedding comes, 15 different sources, when the wedding is coming up, what to do, when the funeral happens, what to do, then that would not be sweet. Because the purity has been lost. It has been polluted by pakan. So these nights are very necessary for those who are going through death, those who have gone through death, and those who will go through death in the homes. Because all of us, we have to ready ourselves for this moment, if not to prepare to assist to send off someone, but we also have to prepare for it, most importantly, for ourselves. So this is twofold. One, you learn why it is you need to do this, because it's a death. D-E-B-T in this time of D-E-A-T-H. But now it is you also learn that one day you will have to also relinquish this physical form. And what you do will not only assist this departed, but it will more or less assist you. So Bhagavan is teaching to Garud now. And Garud asks something very important. He says, oh Bhagavan, you are speaking to me about that which is sustained and will also be destroyed. But I have also asked of you that what should one do in the absence of those who should perform these rites and these ceremonies? Who can they turn to? Bhagwan answers in this way. He says, Putra abhavet vaduha purya, bharya abhavet cha sahodharaha, shishyo va brahmanayasya, sapindo va samachare, om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. You know, samskar is something that we perform because it is a phase or a journey. So we know about Mundan samskar, the child shaves the head. We know about Anprashna samskar, where it is that the child gets food for the first time and eating. Namkaran, child has name. Chudakaran, all of these are portions of impressions where we do little rituals and offerings and puja to mark as something significant. But here now, something significant has happened, death, and this is also called a samskar. And when this happened now, through sorrow, you know, we may have some times where it is that through anxiety, we may say something and do something that we may not mean. Through sadness as well, even through grief, through anger. Anytime these emotions are on the extreme, it says you have to control the senses properly, because something can happen that you cannot account for. You have to speak to your accountant. So anytime these things happen now, you have to always be in cohesion to understand how powerful these senses can lead you astray in 2 minutes. So in our country, one of the greatest mishaps we see is there are very qualified families who perform worship to the Lord their entire life, such as Lord Shiva, Hanumanji, Lord Krishna, and they worship God in their respective ways. But in the advent of death, all of that reasoning goes out through the window. So this is why we turn to our scripture to get support. And when this happens now, we should lean on that which the Lord is telling us here. So Garuda is asking something very important. If it is that you are saying, oh Bhagavan, that this is a debt for the Pitris, and it is supposed to be performed by the son in the home, who should perform all of these rites if it is that there's lacking children or lacking son in the home? Bhagavan says that in the absence of the son, so in this case, Antitara, I can use an example, so those who are here and those of you who are listening virtually could also connect with what we are saying. In the absence of a putra or son, the wife of the deceased can stand to perform these rituals. In the absence of a wife, the sibling can stand to perform the ritual, so the siblings of the deceased. In the absence of the sibling, the family Brahman, the family priest can also perform the rites and rituals. So he will assign another pandit and he will stand as a yajman. So far there are 4 qualifications, right? So we saw in the absence of a son, the wife can perform. In the absence of a wife, siblings can perform. In the absence of the siblings, the Brahman can perform. 3. He also goes on to say, Jeshtayava Kanshiti Bahura Putra Pautrika. He says, and even if there are none of these, who else can they turn to? Of the deceased, the younger or elder brother, or sons or grandsons. So if the deceased is male, it is typical, we run in the paternal lineage. So we turn to the father side, the patriarch side first to seek their sons and grandsons. Because the same Garuda Puran promotes unity, it does not promote disunity, does not promote problems. It says because if it is 7 brothers and they have 1 child, then that 1 child is son to all 7 brothers. This is how the Garuda Puran explains. So that 1 son can stand on behalf of all of those 6 uncles in case they have passed on. So this is being emphasized here as clarified rules so that one can understand the manner, the mindset, and also the qualification. Who can perform and in the manner how we need to perform these things. Because when one does this, it says, whoever performs all of these rites, whoever performs all of these rituals, Stri vat purusha kaschit ishche kure kriyam anatha preta sankara koti yagya phalam labet. When those who have stood with their heads high and understood the principles of their dharma relating to how important it is to perform this rites, it is as if you are reaping the rewards of tens of millions of yagyas performed by these individuals to help the departed. So therefore, at no times, O Garud, these rites should be abandoned. At no times they should be forsaken. Because all of this, O Garud, assists now that departed. So devote yourself to all of these rituals, which entails the offering of the physical frame to that graveyard, which is the first day of the funeral, offering the body into the flame. The second day entails returning all that which has been left behind by that digestive fire to the ocean. Up until the 10th day, we will have our tarpan and our pinda. And on the 13 days, we know the Gita part takes place. So this highlights just briefly the upcoming activities for this family and also those who are virtually logged in. Some may have gone through all of these already, or some are going through. So this, my dear friends, it is very important for us to have that understanding that the rules and regulations, when we see the homes following, it is not done by, let me see, it is done according to strict scriptural injunctions. And when it is performed in the right way, as mentioned in the highlight in the beginning, this sacrifice, what this family will engage in, what all of you are engaging, is called Pitriyagya. A sacrifice where you are not praying to Lord Shiva or Hanumanji for your blessing on your birthday and so forth, like which we can't do, which is sanctioned, which we need to do. But there are times in life where we take 2 steps back and we reflect on the sacrifices others have made for us to be here. And these are opportunities where we can show that thanks by sacrificing ourselves to the Lord in the appropriate way, so that that Atma can attain some sort of benefit when he has to assume another body, if so. So my dear friends, tonight this was the highlight of what I would have liked to bring forward to your attention. At this point in time, I would like to ask one member from the virtual front to give us a short kirtan, Auntie Chansi, if I may call on you to do so. And also there for 10 minutes, I would also like to open the floor. If there's anyone that would like to ask any questions, 1 or 2 questions pertaining to our subject of death, Garud Puran, these rites and rituals, whether it is that you are online, you can ask your question, or those of you who are here, you can also ask your question. And please, there's nothing like a stupid question, because sometimes what you think is a stupid question, when you ask that, you have 15 other men want to know the same thing. So that this forum that we generate, this type of knowledge should also be not only shared, but is supposed to be digested, understood. We promote some kind of thinking, and then in response now, we all learn collectively. So this is the formula of proper satsang. So Auntie Chance, let us have a short kirtan, and then we will open the floor for a few minutes, or 5-10 minutes or so, and then we will do our closing prayer. I hand over to you, Auntie Chance. Sitaram.
Shiva. Seema, would you like to do a short chant, please?
Have a short bhajan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jai Krishna Hare, Shri Krishna Hare, Dukhiyon ko dukh dur kare. Jai 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 Krishna Hare, Jai Krishna Hare, Shri Krishna Hare, Dukhiyon ko dukh dur kare. Jai 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 Krishna Hare. जब चार तरफ अंधियारा हो, आशा का दूर किनारा हो. जब चार तरफ अंधियारा हो, आशा का दूर किनारा हो. पीरन तू ही केवन वाला हो, पेवर तू ही केवन वाला हो. पीरा तू ही पीरा पार करो. जय 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 कृष्ण हरे, जय कृष्ण हरे श्री कृष्ण हरे दुखियों को दुख दूर करे जय 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 कृष्ण हरे जय 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 कृष्ण हरे Punit.
So as mentioned, what I was just saying, that if there's anyone on the virtual front wants to ask a question, they can type it in the chat box there, and I could read out the question, and others will also benefit from that question that is asked. Also, we can also use the medium of raising up the hand in the Zoom application here, and I can also unmute, or you can unmute and we can converse. In the meantime, those who are here with me here, Ravi, if you have any questions, you can ask, feel free, and others as well, in relation to what we would have spoken about tonight. Or if it is that you have any little question or query about what you have to engage in throughout these days and you are not too clear, this is the forum to ask, so others as well can be learning from such. So the floor is open now.
One question.
Yes.
You mentioned all the being the absence of all for the female or the perform later. Very good.
So we have a Bhaiji asking here that at the beginning it was stating that all the qualifications were male, but Bhaiji had to challenge you a little bit, as I say, you have to listen good. That in the first portion it says that if the son is deceased, let's say the context in this home, like how it is not deceased, rather, if the father is deceased and the son is not available or there's no child, then the wife of the deceased can perform those rites. First of all, so the wife is given preference there. Second to that, yes, a daughter can be qualified to perform Shraddha, but she needs to be of the same gotra. When we do the wedding, if those who are invited to Michael's wedding, Ravi's wedding there's a portion where you walk 7 footsteps, which is called Saptapadi. On the 7th footstep, when you take that step, you give your gotra up, meaning that you are giving up your ties with your family, and you are now being bonded now to your husband ties or your husband side's family. So on that 7th step now, that woman belongs to her husband's side. So only if the girl is unmarried and she is clean at that point in time to stay from the first day going all until the 13th day, by all means, she can stand as a shoka. She can stand as one to perform the rites and ceremonies. Yeah. Any other questions? Keep the questions flowing. Anything virtually or physically here? Yes, no. We have Sadhu here next to me with a question. We'll give Sadhu the mic. Ask this question. Everybody will hear.
Sitaram, everybody. Baba, in the case of an infant who has not yet incurred sin and a person who has taken up sannyas, who will fulfill the shroud at that point in time?
This fellow watching plenty ministry press briefing, because he gave me a 2-part question there. It's actually a 2-part question. So I'll address the first one. First one is, in case of an infant. So the infant now is believed from birth till pre-teens that this is pure. An example is, we just came out of Navratri. What do we do on the 8th day of Navratri? We line up all the little devis there and we wash the foot and we put chandra and we give them gift. So we see God in the form of a child. So this tells us now that even when a child passes, he is not in the same karmic level like you and I, because he has not gone into this samsara working, earning and so forth in that way, because of his innocence now the rights will be different. So in that regard, if a baby passes away, we follow the custom that there's no elaborate 10 days, 13 days to perform. There's the day of the funeral, and after that we do a Gita Path at a sanctioned time. If it is that we follow a tradition, again further to that, and the same scriptural guidance, that one should not burn the children. They are supposed to be buried. So this brings a different sense of understanding to karma. When a child has that opportunity and comes into the world and dies at such a young age, we take it as something very hard to accept. But my dear friends, those who would have lost children, please do not feel like that, because you have accomplished karma, which only the Lord blesses on a few. Because that child does not have to go through the pain of this samsara like what you and I will go through. That journey is short. So rest assured that your dharma provides ways to reconcile family members, even if they have been torn by issues in this way. So the second part question, Sadhu, is sannyasi is what he was asking about. So what if you do not know what is a sannyasi? Sannyasi is not like me. Right now, if you ask me for this mala, I will say, no, this is my mala, you cannot have this. A sannyasi, if you ask him for his mala, he say, okay, and he take it out and he give it to you good mala. So sannyasis have no attachment because they have renounced, they have given up everything. So they are the swamis, the sadhus, and all of these kinds of fellas. Whether they have sukh or dukh, pain, pleasure, they are okay. So these individuals, they have taken a sankalp, a vow to worship God by refraining from all of the things that will come into contact with agitating the senses. So if I touch this right now, burn, I get hot, it is hot. When you touch cold now, so they transcend the body now to go even beyond those physical things, which is why some of them sadhu now stand up in the Ganges and Himalayas, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock morning, underneath this big waterfall, Jape Om Namah Shivaya. Sometimes the AC blow a little bad by me, I do my jap, Om Namah Shivaya, tremble a little bit. So it takes a level of contentment to develop that fortitude to worship God. So what they do before is they perform their own ceremonies before they engage in this. So this is something that everyone asks, that Baba, and I could do my own thing for myself if I have nobody else to do it. Yes, you can, but what kind of life will you live after? I'm not qualified to speak about it, but I know my Muslim brothers and sisters, they have Hajj, and that is a qualifying aspect as well. When you make this tirat, when you make this journey, it's a changing process. So when you have that sannyas as well, when you have engaged in that vrat, it is a changing process because you have given up. So they perform their own rites. So yes, you can perform, but you are renouncing. So you cannot perform your rites today, call yourself a sannyasi, and the next day now you buy the biggest car, the biggest house, and you're making use of all of these things. Anybody in the virtual front? Anti-chance, any hands there? Anybody else would like to ask any questions virtually? I'm not seeing any.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Yes, Sylvia.
I have a question.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Auntie Sylvia.
Within recent times, you have been hearing people talking about they don't have to do the shaving and the bandara, and on the creek or wherever on the cremation site, they do everything one time. And the pundit usually tell them, yes, you can do that. You can do everything on the same day, so you wouldn't have any follow-up. Especially it happens in the case of where you have families coming from abroad and they have to do. What is your take on that?
Thank you very much, Auntie. And that's a very pressing issue that changes our dharma. Because look at the effort all of you are making here tonight. You are making an effort to understand what this family is going through. And by extension, one day when we have to go through this, we can also learn from this junction what we can do. So when we add things to assist ourselves for convenience or whichever way, we have to be very careful because we are also setting a precedence on a tone. And sometimes depending on who we are in life now, when we set these tones, others will follow as well. So what we have to do is like what we are doing tonight. This is the first night in this physical home in Balmain, and others, as mentioned, will be listening to Garud Puran so they understand what they are doing. I have not read any text that gives the permission to do that, what you are speaking about, Auntie. This same Bhagavad Gita, it said it has 700 verses and 18 chapters. If someone else tells me this same Bhagavad Gita has 19 chapters and 800 verses, I need to see it, me to believe it. So too, in all of the books where I have read, which deals with death, Bhagavatam, to a little point, Ramayana Katha with the death of Raja Dasrath, we see how his body was treated, and we also have adapted certain qualities. Garud Puran, the Lord advises Garud what to do. Vishnu Puran, Padma Puran, they are all of the authorities in how we should treat death, and none of those speaks about one-day ceremony. So I cannot answer on behalf of some of those pundits who will be performing, but I can tell you on behalf of myself why I do not do it. So possibly if they have the material or the literature, let them forward it to me. And Himati will look at it a little bit. She will go the legal aspect to see if it is good. Look, we have a hygienic back there.
So I want to say, very fast, right? And what we saw, right? The salt and the garlic. Why?
The salt you cannot eat? Yeah, good. Nice question. What? Yeah, very good. So Uncle Anibak is asking now that when it is that you are standing for a ritual, such as death, why is it that you have to stay away from salt? That's very good, you know. Because when my father passed away, I want to eat a bread and cheese in the morning, but I had to have something to do. Listen, nothing in life comes without sacrifice. And even when you are doing your home puja, you will come by the Baba, set a date for puja. And how it is that you will change now, the elders, remember I had a saying, your puja is not when the Baba reach, your puja is from the time you set date. And all of the preparation that you will do with your home, with your body, with yourself, it leads you to that day. So I always use this acronym, fast, focus all senses towards, F-A-S-T, towards God. Eating is just one of the senses that we have other than touch, taste, smell, see. All of these things are senses. So when we fast, we are controlling all of these senses, not only the sense of taste. So for your puja home, you will give up the non-vegetarian foods and you will adopt a vegetarian lifestyle, I'm guessing. So too, the performance of Shraddh now, we cannot prepare ourselves in a case where it is we know somebody might pass away tomorrow. Only medical doctors, where it is that we have the case where it is they pull the plug, and certain opportunities like that we may have a certain level of preparation. So too, what we have to do is, when death occurs, it's an immediate transition now, mind, physical, everything. And we have to enter into that fast now with prim and proper qualities of knowing that we are going to prepare for puja. Because all of these are nothing different to puja, what you do in your home. Everything is offered to Bhagwan. So you stay away from that salt as a method and means of purifying the body. That is just one aspect what is spoken about and highlighted and remembered now. But long ago, the son would have been asked to, if married, to sleep one side in a separate tent if possible. Also, if not, sleep on the ground. There were different customs, but they are sanctioned. However, throughout time now, because we have evolved, I sleeping so long in the mattress, you want me to go and sleep on the hard ground now? So these are some of the simple things that what we have thrown out and what we have accepted. But what we need to also pay attention to is when we practice them, have an understanding. So it's a fast you are engaging in Bhaiji. And when you engage in this fast now, you are performing a sacrifice. And that sacrifice requires you to eat no chunky food because it wants you to be in a calm state of mind. So all that sada food you eat will lead to a sattvic mentality. So one of the things in this Garuda Puran, for you to also be peaceful, for you to also be in that way, you have to eat the things that will also keep you in that energy, in that swabhav, not things to aggravate you. All right. Good. And what Bhaiji is saying there, that sometimes there are people according to health reasons, they cannot do the no salt, which is fine. My advice to you is give a portion of the day. If you cannot do for the entire day, 6 to 6. If you cannot do 6 to 6, 6 to 3. If you can't do 6 to 3, 6 to 12. If you can do 6 to 9, check a doctor. No. I give you all the advice there. No. So my dear friends, if there are any more questions here in the physical setting, I can turn virtually. Govind, anyone there? With any questions
Shiva,
virtually?
Question.
Yes.
There's a
Yes,
question from Seema.
Okay, I'm now seeing that. Thank you. All right. What if The only relative in the country is then deceased person's married daughter. If the married daughter has children, then they are qualified to perform the rites and the rituals. If the married individual does not have children, then they have to wait a longer time in the list of succession when to be chosen. But typically, you would not choose a married daughter because she belongs to her husband's side lineage. So we try our best to seek those who are in the alignment of the succession mode. And when this one is not present, then the other one can also be chosen. But if the married daughter, Seema, has children, the children trumps even the daughter's relationship with her father. The child is allowed to take part in that rite and that ritual. So I do hope that answers your question a little bit there, Seema. Are there any questions virtually or physically? Because at this time we would like to engage in our little closing prayer. But this setting is very healthy. It is very recommended, all of these questions, because other than that, it's just a little lecture you come to. When you sit down, you ask you 1 or 2 questions. This is satsang. I speak, you listen, you ask a further question, and you get a little enlightenment. And that is what you call a little satsang, where it is we bathe in the glories of Bhagwan for the purpose of enlightenment. So if there are any more questions, if there are no more questions, let us adapt once more a manner of prayer, where it is that we offer ourselves in prostration to God, thanking Him for this opportunity where we can learn and grow and assist now the father of this home and those who are listening with the various responsibilities. And when this is done now, our debt to our ancestors, it is repaid. And even if we are also to join them in that form where they have gone, it is in Sadgati, a more peaceful state. So together, all of us, virtually, physically, heart jodhkar, sit upright, clasp hands as we bring our close to this evening's reading, taken from the Garuda Puran. Pray sincerely to Sri Krishna with your entire being. Dedicate this time to pray to Him. And based on relation, based on whichever how you have known these individuals who are no longer here in the physical form, thank God for sending. Thank God for giving us this time to spend. This is our karma. But as we move forward, what our actions will do will assist that Atma. Let us pray, my dear friends. Hari Om. Sri Krishnam Govindam Sri Madhavam Madhusudanam He Namo Narayanam Om Kararvindena Pararavindam Mukharavinde Viniveshayantam Vratasya Pratasya Puteshayanam Balam Mukundam Manasasmarami Sri Krishna Govinda Hare Murari He Nath Narayana Vasudeva He Nath Narayana Vasudeva He Nath Narayana Vasudeva Om Anadhi Nidadu Devam Shankha Chakra Gadadharam Aksharay Pundari Kaksham Preta Moksha Prado Bhava Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Together. Om Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Jasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. बोले गजानन स्वामी महाराज की, बोले कृष्ण भगवान की, बोले विष्णु भगवान की, बोले श्री गुरु महाराज की, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय जय सीताराम. Shubhamastu. God blessings to all of you. And again, all of you who are here, thank you very much. And all of you who are virtually here, thank you very much as well. So at this point in time, let's close just as how we would have started. Can I turn to the support of two members, little kirtan, or 2 kirtans as we bring our close while we make our exit virtually and while we are bringing our close on this end here as well. So thank you again virtually and all of those who are here physically.
Jai Sitaram. वृंदावन का कृष्ण कन्हैया सबके आँखों का तारा, मन ही मन क्यों जले राधिका, मोहन तू है सबका प्यारा। वृंदावन का कृष्ण कन्हैया जमुना तट पर नंद की लाला, जब जब रास रचाया रे, तन मन डोले राधा सी बंसी मधुर बजाए रे, सुधि बुद्धि खोली खरी गोपिया, जाने कैसा जादू डाला। वृंदावन का कृष्ण कन्हैया सबके आँखों का तारा, मन ही मन क्यों जले राधिका, मोहन तू है सबका प्यारा। वृंदावन का कृष्ण कन्हैया। बोलिए श्री कृष्ण चंद्र की जय।